Over half a century has passed since The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly first hit the big screen in 1966, redefining the Western genre and turning its cast into cinematic legends. But what happened to those unforgettable faces after the dust of the Wild West settled? From Clint Eastwood's rise to iconic status to the untold stories of his co-stars, this video takes you on a fascinating journey through time, showing you how the cast looked back then and where life has taken them in 2025. Some found enduring fame, others took unexpected turns, and a few might just surprise you. Whether you're a longtime fan or just discovering this classic, don't miss this look at the legends behind the guns, grit, and glory. Eli Wallach, who portrayed Tuco in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, was 51 years old when he embodied the volatile yet oddly charming bandit. Tuco's erratic behavior and dark humor turned him into a fan favorite, showcasing Wallach's mastery of character depth. Despite his acclaimed performance, Wallach struggled professionally post-film, often typecast and unable to break into more mainstream Hollywood roles. He was married to actress Ann Jackson for over 65 years, a rare stability in an otherwise turbulent life. They had 3 children, Peter, Catherine, and Roberta, but his demanding career strained their relationships. Wallach battled depression in the 1970s and suffered a near-fatal car accident in 1981. He also lost a brother to suicide, which haunted him throughout his life. Financial troubles hit in the late 1980s due to poor investments, though he later recovered modestly. In his final years, he grew increasingly isolated, partially deaf and blind, and dependent on caregivers. He passed away in 2014 at the age of 98 from natural causes. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at an estimated $1.2 million, primarily from royalties and late-career TV appearances, though much had been depleted by medical expenses and late-life caregiving. Clint Eastwood, who portrayed the iconic Blondie, was 36 when he delivered his cool, stoic gunslinger role with minimal dialogue and maximum presence. Blondie, the quiet anti-hero with a moral compass, cemented Eastwood as a cinematic legend. Yet behind the fame, Eastwood's personal life was tumultuous. He married Maggie Johnson in 1953, a union that endured legally for decades but was emotionally distant and riddled with infidelities. They had 2 children, Kyle and Allison, but Eastwood fathered at least 6 other children with various women, some of whom he didn't acknowledge for years. His personal relationships were marked by manipulation and detachment, often leaving partners feeling abandoned. He suffered bouts of loneliness, and was estranged from some of his children at different points. Though successful as a director, his workaholic nature cost him personal happiness. Now 95, Eastwood lives reclusively in Carmel, California. Once worth over $375 million, his current net worth is estimated at $60 million after several lawsuits, divorces, and business losses. He is said to spend his days in quiet reflection, surrounded by a rotating group of caregivers and only occasional visits from family. Lee Van Cleef, known for his chilling portrayal of Angel Eyes, the cold, calculating bounty hunter, was 41 when he brought ruthless precision to the role. His icy demeanor and commanding presence made him unforgettable. After the film's success, Van Cleef's career faltered. He was frequently cast in low-budget spaghetti westerns and foreign films, never quite achieving mainstream stardom in the U.S. He married 3 times, first to Patsy Ruth, then Joan Drain, and lastly to Barbara Havlone, but none of the marriages lasted, each one marked by jealousy, infidelity, and financial tension. He had 4 children, including Alan and Deborah, but struggled with maintaining relationships due to alcoholism and mood swings. Van Cleef suffered chronic health issues, including heart disease and a severe car accident that left him in constant pain. He was also plagued by IRS troubles and mounting debts in the 1980s. He died in 1989 at the age of 64 from a heart attack, largely forgotten by Hollywood. His estate was worth less than $300,000 at the time of his death, a sobering contrast to his once celebrated image as a Western titan. Aldo Giuffre, who played the drunken but oddly noble Union captain, was 41 when he appeared in the film. Known for bringing warmth and humanity to a minor but memorable role, Giuffre was a respected actor in Italian cinema. However, his post-film life was steeped in tragedy. Struggling to find work outside of typecast military or comedic roles, his career declined sharply in the 1970s. He married opera singer Olga Romanelli, and they had one son, Luca, but the marriage dissolved within a decade due to his growing alcoholism and erratic behavior. His relationship with his son was distant, marked by long periods of silence. Giuffre suffered from severe depression, worsened by a diagnosis of Parkinson's disease in his 60s. Financial woes plagued his final years, especially after being swindled by a business partner in a failed theater investment. He died in 2010 at the age of 86, nearly blind and living in a small apartment in Rome. His estate was worth approximately €100,000, most of which was consumed by medical expenses and debt repayments. Despite a once bright legacy, Giuffre's name faded from public memory. Luigi Pistilli, who portrayed the stern and moral Father Ramirez, was 37 when he gave a solemn gravitas to Tuco's older brother in the film. His performance revealed a layered character torn between faith and familial disappointment. Despite his talent, Pistilli's career after the film never soared. He became trapped in Italy's television melodramas and staged performances. He never married but had a long, volatile relationship with French actress Milva, ending in public scandal. Though they had no children, Pistilli's longing for a family led to several failed relationships and emotional breakdowns. He suffered from intense guilt, anxiety, and depression, compounded by the isolation of fame without fulfillment. In 1996, following the cancellation of a poorly received play and personal humiliation from tabloid rumors about his love life, Pistilli took his own life at age 66. He left a note expressing heartbreak and a sense of personal failure. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at roughly €250,000, left largely to distant relatives. His suicide shocked the Italian arts community, and his performance in The Good, the Bad and the Ugly remains one of the few bright spots in a life marked by internal torment. John Bartha, who portrayed the stern yet fleeting Lycene sheriff in The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, was 45 years old at the time of filming. Though his appearance was brief, his gruff authority and towering presence left a lasting impression. After the film, Bartha struggled to secure major roles and drifted into minor European television projects, often uncredited. His personal life mirrored his career's decline. He married Hungarian actress Ilona Szabo in 1958, but their relationship deteriorated under financial stress and Bartha's growing alcoholism. They had one son, Miklos, who later became estranged. The couple divorced in 1972, and Bartha remained largely isolated. He suffered a nervous breakdown in the late 70s and was institutionalized briefly in 1980. In his later years, he was nearly forgotten by the industry he once belonged to and lived modestly in Budapest, depending on a small state pension. He passed away in 1991 at the age of 70 due to liver failure. His estate was valued at less than $50,000, with no royalties coming from his most iconic film, as his contract had not included residuals. His final years were marked by regret and loneliness, rarely visited by family or friends. Rada Rasimov, who played Maria, Tuco's former lover, was 28 when she took on the role. Her character was poignant, used and abandoned in a brutal world, reflecting themes that would soon haunt Rasimov's personal life. Following the film, she briefly enjoyed success in Italian cinema, but her career faded by the late 1970s. She married cinematographer Enrico Allori in 1971, and they had two daughters, Serena and Elisa. However, the marriage collapsed by 1980, fueled by Enrico's infidelities and Rasimov's growing mental health issues. After a severe depressive episode in 1983, she left acting entirely and became a recluse. Her relationship with her children is strained. They have rarely spoken since the 1990s. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and underwent treatment intermittently. Financial instability plagued her, and she sold most of her belongings by 2005. Now 86, she lives alone in a small apartment in Milan, relying on welfare and the kindness of a former co-star who occasionally sends support. Once a rising star, Rasimov now drifts through life largely forgotten, a ghost of a glamorous past. Her current net worth is estimated at under $10,000. Antonio Casale, who played Bill Carson, the dying soldier who held the key to the buried treasure, was 34 in 1966. Casale's performance was haunting, and though brief, it was pivotal to the plot. However, he found himself typecast afterward, relegated to minor roles in spaghetti westerns and exploitation films. He married his high school sweetheart, Francesca, in 1964, and they had 3 children, Luca, Pietro, and Martina. The family initially thrived, but as Casale's acting opportunities diminished, financial hardship took its toll. By the mid-1980s, his marriage was in ruins, and he separated from Francesca in 1987. A near-fatal car crash in 1990 left him partially disabled, worsening his depression. He died in 1993 at just 61 from complications related to alcoholism and untreated diabetes. Estranged from most of his children and forgotten by the film industry, his death went largely unnoticed. His estate was valued at approximately $15,000, with no significant assets or property left behind. Casale's tragic descent from pivotal screen figure to destitution remains a haunting parallel to the dying soldier he so memorably portrayed. Benito Stefanelli, the rugged gang member and renowned stuntman, was 39 when he appeared in The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Known for his fearlessness in dangerous scenes, Stefanelli was a staple in action sequences but never broke through as a major star. His marriage to Spanish actress Pilar Davalos in 1965 was passionate but volatile. Their fights were legendary on the Roman film circuit. They had one daughter, Isabel, who later distanced herself from both parents due to their constant instability. In the 1980s, after a severe spinal injury during a stunt, Stefanelli became addicted to painkillers, which led to further emotional and professional setbacks. He attempted to launch a stunt school in Rome, but it failed due to lack of funding. He died in 1999 at age 72, suffering a fatal stroke alone in his apartment. Despite his decades of contributions to European cinema, he left behind a modest estate of approximately $20,000 and a handful of bitter memories. He was buried in a shared grave without ceremony. His legacy survives only in fragments, raw footage, whispered anecdotes, and the scars he carried on his body. Antonio Casas, who portrayed Stevens, the doomed landowner betrayed and murdered by Angel Eyes, was 50 in 1966. A seasoned Spanish actor, Casas brought a sense of dignity and tragedy to the role. Off-screen, however, his life was filled with sorrow. He married dancer Maria Soledad in 1951, and they had 2 children, Miguel and Lucia. In 1970, Lucia died tragically in a car accident at 14, sending Casas into a deep depression from which he never fully recovered. He divorced Maria in 1974 and withdrew from public life. Though he continued to act sporadically, he often appeared distracted or emotionally distant. He suffered a heart attack in 1982 at the age of 66, dying with only his son Miguel by his side. His estate, once modestly comfortable, had been depleted by medical bills and a failed attempt to produce an independent film in the late 70s. At the time of his death, his assets totaled around $30,000. Once celebrated in Spain's golden age of cinema, Casas is now a footnote in film history, his personal grief eclipsing his public achievements. Aldo Sambrel, who played one of Tuco's merciless gang members, was 38 in 1966. Known for his menacing screen presence, Sambrel became a go-to villain in European westerns but struggled with being pigeonholed. He married model Carmen Ruiz in 1968, and they had 2 sons, Alejandro and Diego. Despite a loving start, the family fell apart by the late 1980s due to Sambrel's long absences and reported affairs. Carmen filed for divorce in 1990. He also suffered from PTSD after a near-death stunt mishap in 1975 that left him briefly paralyzed. His drinking worsened with time, leading to liver complications. Though he enjoyed a minor career resurgence in the early 2000s, he passed away in 2010 at age 79 from heart failure. At the time, he lived in a rented flat outside Madrid and was virtually penniless. His estate was estimated at under $5,000, having spent most of his earnings on medical care and failed investments. Despite this, a small cult following still honors his performances. His funeral was attended by a handful of fans and family members, including an estranged Diego who reconciled with him days before his death. Antonio Molino Rojo, who portrayed Captain Harper, the war-weary Union officer, was 35 in 1966. His portrayal gave a rare glimpse into the haunted conscience of a military man, a role that resonated with Rojo's own inner turmoil. After the film, he took on a few notable parts, but mostly faded into background roles. He married schoolteacher Isabella Ortega in 1970, and the couple had 3 children, Javier, Tomas, and Ana. The marriage dissolved in 1985 after years of mutual emotional neglect and Antonio's quiet descent into depression. In the 1990s, he attempted to find solace in religion, even briefly considering joining a monastery. He died in 2011 at age 80 from pneumonia, alone in a nursing home. His children rarely visited, and his estate, which included a modest villa in rural Spain, was sold posthumously for approximately $60,000. Though largely forgotten by the industry, a dedicated online fanbase has since rediscovered his performances, breathing new life into his legacy. For all his on-screen strength, Rojo's real-life fragility was what ultimately defined him, a man haunted by regret and the roles he could never play. Who is your favorite character from The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, 1966? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.